Okay, welcome you all. Hope you're all good. I'm Kausalya, professor in the Department of Commerce. I've cleared my UGC NAT. And today we're going to see about the corporate accounting and auditing for the next hours. Everyone is able to hear me and able to see the screen? Can you please confirm in the chat? Both audio and video is okay? That's nice. Thanks for the reply. We'll start the session now. Okay. If you have any doubts, you can just ping through the chat. Please mute yourself throughout the class. At the end of the session, we can clarify our doubts. And other thing is, I will be sharing this PPT to yourself, you through Sir, and also I'll be giving you a detailed document through Word so that you will be benefited. Kindly, keenly listen to the class. A very good afternoon, everyone. Okay, we'll start. First of all, before starting about the corporate accounting, let's see about accounting. Accounting, it's a basic thing. It's an art of recording, classifying, summarizing in a significant manner in terms of money, transaction, all parts of recording events and for the financial characteristics for the result of effective utilization of the things. It is done from the small organization to the larger organization. For in all terms, our accountancy is used, especially corporate accountancy. What does corporate accountancy means? Corporate accountancy it's especially for corporates in sense organization managements. So for especially in that, a company is association of a person who agrees to contribute money to the entire to the equity shares for the purpose of employing in its business, which is for starting from investing in a business and making returns out of it. For each nook and corner, accounting plays a vital role. Excuse me, can you please mute yourself? Those who are not muted. Thank you. Okay. Especially a company will be having a common seal and it will be legally registered under the legal entity. Okay. This is the content we are going to see about the corporate accounting now. The share capital. Under that, there will be equity shares and preference shares. We'll see a clear picture about this in the coming slides. Okay, a share. The share is what? What do you mean by the share? It is the capital of the company which will be divided into units, small units in denominations like 10, 100, thousands like that. And there are two types of shares, which is preference shares and equity shares. Preference shares are the most preferential rights will be given to them, which is the possess the nature of the equity. It will be having the nature of equity, but it will be given more preference to that. And the payment of dividend will be there and repayment of the capital at the end of the liquidation or winding up of a company. These are the types of preference share. First one is cumulative preference shares, which is these are those shares on which arrears of dividend accumulated which could not be paid due to insufficient profit in the year. And next one is non-cumulative, which is the opposite of cumulative preference shares. These shares do not have a privilege and accumulated of an unpaid or arrears of dividend. Next one is participating preference shares. Shares which carry the right left after paying preference and equity dividend. Next one is non-payment preference shares. Sorry, non-participating preference shares. Non-participating preference shares means shares which do not carry the rights of sharing in the surplus left after paying equity dividend. Next one is convertible preference shares, which means we can convert our preference shares into equity shares like that. Another one is non-convertible preference shares, which is we cannot convert our preference shares into any of the shares. Next one is redeemable preference shares, which we can redeem. We can get back our the capital of which we have which can be refunded by the company after a specific duration. Next one is irredeemable preferences, which by the name itself we came to know that it the capital of which we cannot be refunded before the winding of the company. Next one is cumulative convertible preference shares, which will be like the shares of accumulated as well as it can be converted and it will be enjoying both the rights. That is cumulative convertible preferences. Additionally, we have two more convertible preference shares. One is optionally convertible, which is carry an option to be converted into equity, and another one is compulsory convertible. After a certain period, compulsorily it will be convertible into equity shares. Hope I am clear. Next one is these are the shares detailed. Equity shares are the owners of the company. They will be enjoying, they will be facing equally profit and losses if the company is facing. Next one, we are going to see the structure of share capital. If we want to start a company, we will be investing our money. If we don't have enough money, we will be getting money from public or institutions. So if we want to get public money, the small unit which we are going to get is share capital. Um, the share capital is the capital raised by the company from issues of share. Initial, the money authorized capital means this is the maximum limit of a company which authorized to raise. For example, if I want to start a business, it needs like 10 lakhs for me. I am having 5 lakhs. So my authorized share capital for the company is 10 lakh. Next one is issued capital. I am the issued capital is it is that part of the authorized capital from which the company has to issue to the public. For example, I am in that 10 lakh which I'm going to start business. I am not having sufficient money 10 lakh. So I'm only having 5 lakh. So for the balance 5 lakh, I'm issuing to the public. So 5 lakh, the balance 5 lakh I'm going to issue. So that is the issued capital. Subscribed capital is it is a part of the issued capital which is actually subscribed by the public. In YouTube, we'll come to know about the subscribed. So subscribed means the public have been subscribed our capital. For example, as I said in the example, 5 lakh I'm going to issue. Out of that 5 lakh, how much people have been subscribed for? Whether they have subscribed fully 5 lakh or over subscribed. If the subscription amount will be more than 5 lakh, like 6 lakh, if my subscription amount is there, it is over subscription. If my subscription amount comes like below 5 lakh, which is 4 lakh or 3 lakh, it is under subscription. Next one is after subscription, the called up capital will be there, which will be in form of application money. Next one, allotment money, called up, first call, second call, final call, like that. That will be our full amount will not be charged on a whole. It will be collected in an installment basis from the public. That is called up money. It is that amount of the shares subscribed demanded from the public by a company. Next one is paid up capital. Paid up capital is, as I said, called up. I'm just calling public for paying that money in form of installment. When they paid the application money, first installment money, second call money, the payment made for the call is paid up money, paid up capital. Next one is reserve capital. This one plays a very vital role here. The company may decide by passing a special resolution that is the portion of an uncertain amount shall not be called up. For example, call in arrear, like that. In that case, at the time of winding up, we have to face it. So we will be reserving some part of amount in the reserve capital. So that is what reserve capital. And share capital, the consideration of issue of shares may be are in two types. One is cash and another form is other than cash. For example, fixed asset, any manufacturing, any trade, like that. Next one is Accounting entries for issue of shares. We have n number of entries. First one is issue of shares for cash consideration. We can see shares payable in lump sum. As I said, if my shares amount is 5 lakh, lump sumly full amount 5 lakh, if a public is able to give me, so it is lump sum. As I said earlier, if I'm collecting the money for as in installment basis, like application money 3 rupees, allotment money 3 rupees, first call money 2 rupees, second call money 2 rupees. In installment basis, if I'm collecting, that is shares payable in installment. Call in arrear is when I call the money, if I call the shares, if the public is unable to pay the money in the certain period, in the specific period, it will become a call in arrear. Call in advance is the opposite of it. Advancely, the public will be paying to us as a company. So they will be paying in advance. That is call in advance. Next one is the shares can be issued in three forms. One is par, second one is premium, third one is discount. Par is as equal to our face value. Face value, if I'm issuing 50,000 shares, 10 each, that will be my 5 lakh rupees. So my face value will be 10. If I'm giving you for 10 rupees itself, that is for par. If I'm giving my 10 rupees value share for 12 rupees, extra 2 rupees, that is premium. If I'm giving for discount, if I'm giving like 10 rupees share, I'm giving you for 7 rupees or 8 rupees less than the face value, that is discount. Issue of shares at discount. Next one, as I said, oversubscription. What we will be doing at the time of oversubscription of shares? The subscribed shares will be classified into three types. One is full subscribed capital, and another one is oversubscribed capital, another one is undersubscribed capital. As I said in the example, I need 5 lakh to 5 lakh of balance to start my business. I'm issuing 5 lakh. If I'm getting equal amount of 5 lakh from the customer, fully subscribed capital. If I'm getting like more than 5 lakh, around 6 lakh I'm getting, what I have to do with that extra 1 lakh? Either we are having two options. One we can reject the money excess application and to the public itself. Other one is pro rata allotment. Pro rata allotment is proportional allotment to all application. It is an excess money received and it is not refunded and retained and adjusted towards the sum due to an allotment. And some of the application may be rejected fully while remaining applications to be allotted in the full. Which means pro rata allotment means in future, if any of my public is not able to pay, if they are not paying, if the call in arrear or they are discontinuing, at that time we can use of pro rata allotment, the good public customers. Next one is under subscription. Under subscription means, as I said, if I need 5 lakh, so I'm issuing 5 lakhs of shares, I'm getting only 4 lakh. So which is under, below the value which I'm expecting. Next one is calls. The call money should not be exceed 50% of the face value. For example, as I said, I will be collecting money in the basis of installment. So face value is 10. The call money should not be more than 5, like that. But the company have their own article to change their limit. Next one is it has a time interval of 30 days between two successive calls. So between calls we will be giving 30 days of interval time. And the next one is there should be a prior notice to pay the amount of call should be sent 14 days. There should be notice sent to the shareholder before 14 days. Next one is forfeiture of shares. Forfeitures of shares is who has failed to pay the shares or capital call money. It is a cancellation of allotment to defaulting shareholders. To treat the amount already received, such as shares have been forfeited. Which means, for example, one customer is not able to pay my call money, but he have paid my application money, allotment money. In that case, after a certain period, after waiting for a certain period, what we will be doing means, if he is not able to pay, right, so we will be considering that thing as forfeiture shares. We will be cancelling the allotment, and either we will be reissuing the shares to someone who is willing to pay it. So that is forfeiture of shares. Forfeiture of shares in a simple term, that is who has failed to pay one or more installment. Next one is reissue of forfeited shares. Reissue of forfeiture shares is that the incomplete shares. What we should not face loss, right? So we will be reissuing the shares which is incomplete shares to someone else who is able to give. For example, the 10 rupees face value shares will be reissued to someone else at the rate of 9 rupees, so that others will be getting that money, getting that shares, and I can survive with the company. Next one is the reissues can be done with the minimum distance with the two cases. One is when shares were originally issued at par or premium, the amount credited to the forfeiture account. And the next one is when shares were originally issued at discount, the amount credited to the forfeited share plus the amount of original discount. Next one is, can we reissue the shares at any price, but the total amount on these shares should not be less than the amount in the arrear of these shares. So as I said, we should not get lost. So accordingly, we should balance and we should reissue. And these are the two account journal entries. Forfeiture shares account will be shown under the headings of share capital. And next one is profit on reissue of shares will be transferred to the share capital reserve. These are the valuation of shares method. We have four valuation of shares method. One is net asset method, which is value per equity shares, net asset divided by number of equity shares. Next one is yield or dividend yield method, which is market value per equity shares, dividend per share, normal rate of return into 100. Next one is earning capacity method, which is value of shares is equal to rate of earning divided by normal rate of return into paid up value of shares. Rate of earning, which is total actual profit earning divided by capital employed into 100. Next one is last method, dual method, which is value of shares on earning basis, value of shares additional to it on net asset basis divided by 2. As of now, we have done with shares. We will be seeing similar sum models in the question and answers analysis session. Okay. As of now, are you clear? Everyone is clear? Those who are clear, kindly give me a confirmation in chat box by saying clear. Yes, that's nice. Okay, we'll proceed with, we are short of time, we'll continue with the session. Okay, next one is liquidation of companies. Liquidation of companies are the winding up, the closing, shutdowning of a company. So when we will be facing liquidation of companies means, there are three reasons of liquidation of company. One is compulsory liquidation. Next one is voluntary liquidation. Under voluntary liquidation, we have two subdivision. One is it has been done winding up by the member. Another one is winding up by the creditor. Winding up by the creditor. Third one is winding up under supervision of court. We see in detail now. Compulsory liquidation is non-commencement of the business. If the company is not able to run, or the statutory meeting, as per the statutory meeting, the annual meeting, they have decided to close down the company. If they are unable to pay the debts, and if the member falls down between below the summon or two cases of public company, if they're moving into a privatization, any in form of compulsory, we have to wind up our company. This will be coming under compulsory winding up, compulsory liquidation or winding up. And second one is voluntarily winding up is voluntarily if the as per the article of association, the terms have been expired. If it is going to expire, it will be coming under voluntary liquidation. Another one is if there is any special resolution passed in the general meeting, there will be voluntarily winding up by the members. But if it is by creditors, if we are not able to pay our creditors enough money, at that time there will be resolution passed and we have to wind up and we have to pay to our creditors. And another one is winding up under supervision of court, which means if the company is under any illegal activities or any malpractice, any hazardous to the society, it will be taken care under supervision of court and it will be winded up. That is liquidation of winding up. Next one is acquisition of company. Acquisition of a company means one company buys a controlling 100% of interest in another company with the intent of making an acquire from subsidiary business within its portfolio, which means, one minute. Okay. Accusation in simple terms means it is taking over. One company will be taking over all control. And what is the process of accusation means? Which is first one is they will be setting goals and strategy. There will be a clear primary goal and strategy to accomplish the goal. Second one is they will be selecting and reviewing the target, whether we are having selected a proper target, are we going in the right track, like that. Third one is forecast evaluation. In future what will be our company's goodwill or return, are we going in the right track, so the evaluation. Fourth one is analysis, a strategical analysis of the process. Fifth one is managerial review and decision. Internally and externally, the independent auditors, they will be review the process of accusation, whether they are going right track or we have to take proper measurement, like that. And finally the negotiation will be done and accusation will be taken by the company. This is accusation of company, taking a complete control over one company. Next one is merger. Merger in sense, it's a fusion of two or more entities, and it is a process. The identity of one or more entity it's lost. One company will be dominating another company, bigger company. For example, now recently Vodafone and Idea have been clubbed together and they have been progressing as a single company, like that. There will be absorbed together and new organization will be formed. There are four types of merger. One is historical merger, second one is vertical merger, third one is co-generic merger, fourth one is conglomerate merger. Horizontal merger means two companies okay horizontal merger means two companies that compete in the same industry segment, they will be combined together and form a new company. So as I said, the for example, G Vodafone and Idea. Vertical merger is there will be two or more companies in the same industry but different field combined in the business. There will be a different field, they won't be in the same field, but they will be combined together and formed as a new company. And co-generic merger is it is a kind in which two or more companies in an association in the same way or the other related to the it is based on the production process, marketing business or marketing business markets or basic requirement of technology. Based on the technology market requirements, if two or more companies merge together to survive in the market, they will be under this co-generic merger. Since nowadays technology have been so much advanced, the traditional companies has to update with the technologies, though they will be merged with the technology advanced companies, that is co-generic mergers. Fourth one is conglomerate merger. Conglomerate mergers is conglomerate merger, which means this kind of venture in which two or more companies belonging to different industrial sector combines together, which is two different industries, big industries will be combined together and form as a new company. This is conglomerate merger. Excuse me, give me a second. I drink water. Okay, next is amalgamation of companies. Amalgamation, which means the combination of one or more companies into new entity, similar to that, but there is a slight differentiation between this. This will be including like two or more companies joined to form a new company, and other form of amalgamation will be absorption or blending of one by another. And price consideration for amalgamation of companies will be in four forms. One is lump sum method, another one is net payment method, another one is net asset method, another one is exchange of shares on intrinsic value method. We'll see in depth now. And there are two terms for the company. One is transferor company, another one is transferee company. Transferor company means the company which is amalgamated into another company, and transferee company means the company into which a transferor company is amalgamated. Okay, let's see the purchase consideration. Lump sum means we already know the amount of purchase consideration has been given in whole. The sum, the complete value will be given. Another one is net payment method is it is as the purchase consideration is arrived by adding cash paid and the agreed value of shares issued by the transferee company to shareholders of a transfer company, which will be both. It will be in form of cash as well as in form of shares. Next one is net asset method. Net asset method will be aggregate of the asset taken over by the aggregate value, which is liabilities taken over at agreed value. That is net asset method. And the fourth one is exchange of shares. In the name itself we will come to know that it will be intrinsic value of the shares of the both companies are calculated on the basis of these shares. The transferor company issues the shares to the transferee company. There will be exchange of the shares. And there are two major types or methods of accounting under amalgamation of company. One is purchase method is followed, nature of purchase, and another one is pooling of interest method or nature of merger method. Okay, first one, nature of purchase, which means in this method the transfer company accounts for the amalgamation either by incorporating the assets and the liabilities at their existing carrying amount, or by allocating the consideration to individual assets, liabilities of the transferor or company on the basis of their fair value of the date of amalgamation. So it will be done on the basis of purchase of the company. Next one is merger, means this one is through this accounting method the assets, liabilities and the reserves are of the transferor company are recorded by the transferee company by their existing carrying amount. Based on the existing carrying amount, the accounting method will be calculated. Next one is reconstruction of the company. Earlier we have seen the liquidation, winding up, two companies merging, amalgamation. These terms and all we came to know. So for reconstruction, if I want to reconstruct my company, there are two methods involved in this. One is internal reconstruction, another one is external reconstruction. We'll see the comparison between both the reconstruction. In simple term, internal reconstruction, which is the method of corporate reconstruction, whereby the existing company is not liquidated to form a new company. Internally they will be changing, they will be adapting to new things, and they will be doing slighter alteration within the organization. External reconstruction is one in which the company undergoing reconstruction is liquidating, as they will be liquidated and one company will be taken over by the another company and they will be formed as a new company. That is external reconstruction. Externally one company will be absorbed, will be holding other company shares. And new company, In internal reconstruction, new company is formed. But in external reconstruction, internal reconstruction, new company is not formed. But in external reconstruction, it is formed. Next one, uses of specific term in the balance sheet. Here they will be using unreduced, which means what and all liabilities we are faced, and what and all the things we have to the things we have met to reconstructed our business, our company. So that is what and reduced term will be used. And another one is in external reconstruction, there won't be a specific term involved in the balance sheet since it's going to be a new company. Next one is capital reduction. Capital is reduced and the external liability holder waive their claim. To form because there is no new company is going to form, so there will be we don't need extra capital amount and all. So as well as the liability holder will also waive their claim. But here no reduction in the capital. There may be addition in the capital, but there won't be reduction in the capital. Next one is approval of court. Here internal reconstruction, approval of court is must, since we are reconstructing our existing company. And other one is in external reconstruction, no approval of court is required, because there will be proper registration under amalgamation, or uh, company is started by purchase or merger. Next one is transfer of assets and liability. Here there won't be any such transfer takes place in internal reconstruction, but external reconstruction, assets and liabilities will be transferred from the existing to the new company. This is all about reconstruction of companies. Next one is holding company accounts. Holding company accounts means one company will be holding shares of the other company, which will be more than 51% of shares will be holded by the uh, holding company holding company. And based on the control holding parent company will be acquiring the whole or majority of the shares of the another company. The minor shareholder company will be named as subsidiary company. And the company can become a holding company by in form of three ways. One is by holding 50% of the nominal value of the equity shares of other company. And second one is holding company is able to appoint or remove the directors of the subsidiary company. And third one is controlling a company which controls another company. And we'll come to know the presentation of accounts of holding company. According to accounting standard 21, it is a mandatory to prepare the consolidated financial statement by a holding company, but often holding company prepares it. Okay. Next one is according to Indian accounting standard 110, it is mandatory to prepare a consolidated financial statement by the holding company. And according to in accounting standard 21, the consolidated financial statement should include four things. One is consolidated statement of P&L, profit and loss. Another one is consolidated balance sheet. Both consolidated means holding plus subsidiary companies balance sheets. And other one is consolidated cash flow statement. Another one is notes of account. What is subsidiary company will be having means they will be combined with the holding company. Another name for subsidiary company will be non-controlling interest, NCI, as per Indian Accounting Standard 110. Let's see about accounting standards. Okay, let's see about accounting standards. It is the policies and practices formed in a way. It is a policies and practice formed. Uh, and there are two major things. One is Indian accounting standards, which will be notified by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and which are converged with International Financial Reporting Standard, which is IFRS. And these are formulated by the Accounting Standard Board of Institute of Chartered Accounting of India. Under this, we have list of Indian accounting standards. We'll come to know about that in future. And next one is IFRS, which is issued by International Accounting Standard Board, and under this we have subdivisions called IASC, which is International Accounting Standard Committee, formed in 1973, which is issued under this. And another one is IAS, which is International Accounting Standard. Another one subdivision is IASB, which is replaced to International Accounting Standard Board in 2002, and another one is IFRS, which is comprises of IAS, SIC, which is Standard International Committee, and another one is IFRS and IFRIC, which is International Financial Reporting International Committee. Okay, 1 minute. We'll have Okay, let's see about human resource accounting. Human resource accounting, here they will be valuing the employees as a resource to the organization. It is a process of identifying, measuring about the human resource and communicating the information to the interested parties. Here, 1 minute. Okay, this mainly why we are doing in human resource accounting means the need for it means it helps the management in a larger perspective and utilization, maximum utilization of the human resource, and it is also deciding the transfer, training, enrichment of human resources activities. Let's see the types of HR accounting. There are two main types of HR accounting, which is one is cost based model, another one is value based model. Under cost based model, there are three subdivisions: capitalization of historical cost model, replacement of cost model, individual and positional model. There are other subdivision, and third one is opportunity cost model. We'll see in depth now. Capitalization of historical cost model means the sum of all cost, which is recruitment, training, development, etc., all are added together to value the human resources. It is the employee who leaves the firm before expectancy length of a service. The net value is charged to this current revenue. So based on that, this will be calculated. And another one is replacement of cost method, which is when a company is when an employee is replaced by another employee based on the individuality and positional level. That only this model talks about. It is taking into account that the cost that would be incurred to replace its existing human resource by an identical one, and the types are individual replacement cost, the cost to encourage replacing an individual by substitute who can provide the same set of service as that the individual being replaced. And another one, as I said, positional replacement cost is the cost of replacing a set of service referred by an individual in a defined position. It takes into an account that position in the organization currently held by the employee and also the future official expectancy in terms held by him. So if a manager is leaving a company, we have to appoint a equally qualified manager in the organization. So what and all cost incurred to do that, so that will be calculated under this. And the third one is opportunity cost. As I said, opportunity is cost of replacing the set of services. Sorry, this is opportunity cost is basically uh, time involved. In this time we can do something else, but we are investing in this. So what is the cost which we have given up to enjoy the present thing. So this model is based on the value of an employment in its alternative best use as the basis of estimating the value of human resource. Next one is value. So this human resource will be the cost involved will be calculated in this model. And next one is value based model. As I said, human resource will, after a certain point, we the humans have been considered as a valuable resource to an company. So this model talks about the value. One is first classification is present value of future earning model, which will this method helps in determining what an employee's future contribution worth today. If I'm investing training development things and all in an employee, how much he will be benefit to me in the future. So that is what this talks about. And second one is reward valuation model, or Flam's model. This is an improvement in the present value of firm earnings model, as it takes into account the probability that an individual is expected to move to a set of mutually exclusive organizational role or services states during a time interval. Next one is valuation of group basis. Group basis is calculating the present value of all the existing employee in such of rank. So there will be classification based on rank, and based on rank, the human resource accounting will be done. This is HR accounting. We'll see the objectives of human resource accounting. So it's a common thing only, and human resource accounting facilitate the managing the people as one of the resources of the organization. It does not consider human resource as a as equal to the missions, like that. So after considering human resource accounting only, employees are considered as the valuable resource. And second objective is making decision about acquiring, allocating, developing, maintaining human resource in order to keep control on human resource cost. And next one is it provides the information to the management about all the human resource cost and value incurred in the organization. Next one is maximum utilization of human resources. Next one is to see whether the human resources are producing a return on investment of the person interested in the organization or not, whether the humans are interested to work or not, to judge it. And final one is it provides the human resources accounting detail to outsiders like financiers such as bankers, financial institutions, and creditors, etc., so that the company will be more benefited. Next one is inflation accounting. Inflation accounting is what is the other name for inflation accounting? It is accounting for price level changes. The value, for example, last if I'm having 100 rupees now, the same value of 100 rupees today 2001 value will not be equal to the value of past 5 years back. In 2015, if I'm having 100 rupees, the value of 100 rupees is not equal to present 100 rupees. So what is the gap, time interval? So based on the time interval, the value will be differencing. So similarly, if I'm investing some money in a business and accounting things, we have to be calculating optimistic inflation accounting assumptions and techniques. So this accounting will be telling us the techniques to overcome all that barriers. Okay. It is a process of adjusting the financial statement of a company to show the real financial position of a company during the inflation period. Now we are facing a dramatically inflation. So a company has to do this in a cyclical order. Next one is we'll be seeing about the techniques. Before that, here about I want to tell one more thing about the inflation accounting, which is it is a process of adjusting the financial statement. Not only by that, uh, it will be guiding the company to be more benefited according to the cost price index travel of the economy of a country. we'll see the assumptions and practices. There are three assumptions in inflation accounting. One is implied assumptions, which is the value of the money remains stable. If the value of money remains stable, but it has been fluctuating violently in the most part of the world. Not it is not only considering about the home country, parent country, it also considering about whole world globally. Next one is revenue statement. Some expenditure are shown at current level and some are historical price level. So based on that there will be statement created. And final third assumption in inflation accounting will be balance sheet. Some assets are shown at the current price level and some at historical price level. Okay, we'll see the techniques of inflation accounting. There are four major techniques of inflation accounting. One is current purchasing power method, another one is current cost accounting method, another one is replacement cost accounting, fourth one is current value accounting. Current purchasing accounting means it involves adjustment of financial accounts to a price changes. Based on price changes, this method will be calculating. A general price index is used to convert the value of the variation items. Historical figures are adjusted at current purchasing power by multiplying the historical figures by conversion factor. That will be done here. And current cost accounting method is assets are shown at the current cost and profit are determined on the basis of the cost at the date of sales rather than the actual cost, which will be impacting both on balance sheet as well as in the profit and loss account. Third one is replacement cost method is all assets and the liabilities are recorded on the balance sheet according to the cost of replacing rather than their historical cost. So based on the replacement cost, what annual cost I am incurring. So that will be here. And fourth one is current value accounting. Current value accounting is all the assets and the liabilities are measured at current value at which they could be realized at the current date, impacting on the balance sheet based on the present value, current value. It will be the technique followed in the inflation accounting. Okay. Okay, it's 2:55. I think we'll have a small break for 5 to 7 minutes and we'll come back after a break. So after that we'll continue the class. Is it okay? Everyone is clear as of now? Can you please reply me in the chat box stating I'm clear, ma'am? Okay, that's nice. Okay, we'll meet up after a short break. After 5 to 7 minutes, we'll have a break.